Sam, you make an interesting point about the cameras that are actually facing into the cab. I know that there's some drivers out there with some pretty strong opinions about that. In fact, our podcast director, she was mentioning that her daughter's dad, who's a truck driver, has said there's lots of truck drivers who say, well, if they ever do that, I'm quitting and going somewhere else. Do you ever think that those cameras facing inward are going to be like standard and be mandated across the entire trucking industry? Like, what do you think the future of that use of cameras is going to be?
I think standard is a tough one to answer. I don't know if it'll ever be standard. I mean, forward facing dash cams aren't necessarily, necessary or standard, whatever you want to call it. But if you don't have them now, you are severely behind the time. So I can see inward facing dash cams becoming quite ordinary. But you're exactly right. There are very strong opinions, and that's kind of to say the least, how a driver facing camera would work in the real world today. And to be fair, I completely see the driver's point on it. I wouldn't want anybody watching me in in my car. Now, granted, I know there's legal things like it's not their vehicle, so we can do it. I get all of that. But at the same time, that is their house, it's their home away from home. So I understand that. So I think technology's got to advance a little bit. I've already seen some things where if the truck isn't moving, if it's not in motion, the camera doesn't work. So, I mean, that technology is already out there. And I think that's got to be a little more standardized before drivers will say, okay, you can put a camera facing me as long as when the truck stops, the camera stops. And I get that. And I think that would be more standard. And to be honest with you, as a safety supervisor, I really don't want to watch, that camera all the time. So I think these drivers have this mindset that we're just going to sit there and, watch them drive. But I've got so many drivers on the fleet here. I don't have time to pay attention to you. The only thing that will happen is if you have an accident or you hit something or a close call, then yeah, we'll peek in and see what happens. But I think the technology for those driver facing cameras has got to evolve a little bit more or become a little more standardized with their safety or their, I guess safety requirements would be it. But I could see them being pretty common here in the near future.
And it might just be that it's a generational thing, right? The new drivers who are more used to technology may be more accepting of it. But I got to tell you, you have an accident and someone says, he was on his cell phone and you weren't, right?
Yeah.
And that inward facing camera can exonerate you from a false claim. So if you're doing things the right way, and if there's those different features put in there to kind of protect your privacy when appropriate, then I could see it from a generational perspective, this being a shift that happens relatively soon. But a lot of old school drivers, I just don't think they're gonna do it. So time will tell.
They're the ones that'll put up a fight. And again, I understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, I think they will evolve into becoming the standard. And if you want to keep driving a truck, you're gonna have to figure out if you can live with that or not.